Redditors that worked with a dating company, Tinder, Bumble, Hinge, etc. What's the most insane user stat or behind-the-scenes fact you found out about? Story 1. A couple met on the dating app I worked on. Unfortunately, the man passed away and the lady returned to the app where they met for remembrance. One day, a bug in the system made some profile likes to be sent to her again after months, and she received one from her deceased boyfriend. Her bug report was heartbreaking. We now have a Discord. Check out the server in the link in the description. Story 2. This was years ago now, but I used to work with a guy who had been an engineer for Match.com. He said that 99% of the profiles were inactive and that 80% of the active profiles were men. He didn't provide numbers, but also said that there was a huge disparity between the average number of messages sent to women versus those sent to men. According to him, all told, the site was mostly men reaching out to dead profiles and never getting responses. As I said, however, this was years ago. It's entirely possible that they've cleaned up the site since then. Story 3. I used to moderate OkCupid. The amount of unsolicited D-pics men would send women, not even accompanied by any words, was horrifying. I mean, you'd expect it because online dating is a cesspit, but the sheer amount would still surprise you. I had to look at each reported picture and say, yup, that's a dong. Story 4. This is probably going to get buried, but I used to work for shag.co.uk as a content creator. And by that, I mean it was me who replied to messages from users. I used to get paid between 11 to 18 pence per message, with bonuses for hitting certain message amounts. It was mostly frisky guys who just wanted to chat and get off, but I met some interesting people. 1. A 60-something guy whose wife died a few weeks prior, hadn't banged in years, needed a release. Spoke at length of how he had picked me because I looked like his dead wife in her prime. 2. A guy who was in his 80s was an ex-adult video star, sent multiple links to his content and such. We spoke at length regarding his trips to Africa and all the charity work he'd done. 3. A lot of obvious pedos, assaulters, etc. It was pretty scary what people would admit to with enough pushing. 4. A lot of guys would agree to whatever weird fetish I dreamed up of on that day. Frisky people, be frisky. It all came to an end for me when a guy told me his dad had died that morning and he wouldn't be around for a while. I got reviewed for my reply, which was, "I'm really sorry for your loss. If you need to talk, I'll be here for you." They suggested that I should have replied, "Do you not care about me? I have needs too." Just realized that the site owners really just don't give a crap at all. Even from a business point of view, this doesn't make any sense. Like, that's just a bad move. Show some empathy to your customers, they're more likely to come back. That's just how it works. Story 5. I used to work at Bumble, although this was about 4 or 5 years ago. Globally, about 90% of the users are men, so there is a huge male-to-female ratio disparity, although it's not that bad on a per-country basis for some countries. The most depressing stat, though, was the histogram of word count in messages. Something like 91% of opening messages were just one word, hey, and 85% of conversations were just one exchange long, hey into no reply ever. Looking at human digital mating habits splayed out in data science form was really depressing. Update. Some people have asked me a lot of the same questions, so I'm providing answers here. 1. When I worked there, we were not allowed to read the content of their chats, only gather metadata about them, word count, number of exchanges, that kind of stuff. But we could not build models which analyzed the content of chats. This chat was about food, this one was holidays, this one was intimate. This was due to stringent GDPR draft rules /TOS privacy rules at the time. And Bumble took user privacy really seriously, so chats were never read or analyzed for content, not even by automated models. However, this was 4 to 5 years ago, and they may have amended their TOS since then to allow it. Or they might be analyzing content for non-GDPR countries, USA. Therefore, as people have pointed out, we don't know for sure that the word used most often was actually hey. It could have been hello or howdy. In the office, we always just assumed it was hey due to our own experiences on the app. But we did know with certainty that 91% of first messages used only a single word, so we could guess that it was hey. 2. The countries which had better male-to-female ratios, which I can remember, were the Nordic ones. Sweden and Norway were close to 50-50, and for a time, one of them even had more women on the app than men. Not sure how it is now. 3. The GDPR rules were released in 2016, even earlier draft rules for some industries such as banking and finance and telecoms, but they were not actually enforced until 2018. This grace period of 2 years was so that firms could implement all the massive legal and technical protocols for GDPR. And many compliance/tech departments in London did nothing but a mad dash sprint for 2 to 3 years. straight to get GDPR compliant before the 2018 deadline. As such, Bumble was already GDPR compliant, at least in terms of user chats. Don't know about other aspects. Well before 2018. As I said, they took user privacy seriously, even before GDPR. We weren't allowed to read chat messages due to a combination of user privacy TOS, specific to Bumble, and GDPR draft rules. I just wrote GDPR as a catch-all term for all the various privacy rules in effect, including TOS. But yes, I agree, the rules were not enforced yet. I apologize that wasn't specific. I wrote my reply this morning not thinking it would explode like this, so just blurted out GDPR without getting pedantic about the rules. Apologies for any confusion. 4. All these numbers are pulled from my memory of what I saw 4 to 5 years ago, and thus are not canon law or academic paper-worthy. 50-50 in the Nordic countries, huh? Do you hear that? I hear so many lonely people buying plane tickets right now. And for the record, I don't blame you. Go get them. Story 6. My ex-boyfriend worked for the Yahoo Italy dating site back in the early-ish 2000s. His job was to pretend to be a woman and message male customers just as their accounts were going to expire. This would encourage them to pay to renew their subscriptions. Once they renewed, he would ghost them. He only lasted for a few months due to how unethical it was. First of all, that's niche. Yahoo Italy dating site? Like, I know it's the early 2000s, but no offense, you had to be pretty desperate to go on there. And then you have to pay a subscription too, that's brutal. Also, this guy's job is terrible, obviously, but like, Yahoo dating? Italy? Story 7. I would love to know how openly cynical the algorithm really is. My feed on Hinge shows absolutely no one I'm interested in. And suddenly the Roses feature pops up. I am interested in all the people in the Roses section, but oh, it's £4 to buy one rose, which is no guarantee of a match, much less a date. They want to keep you using the app and spending money for as long as possible. And their slogan, designed to be deleted, is such BS it's comical. And you can't turn to other apps because they're all owned by the same corporation. Story 8. I ran operations for an online dating company, notably not affiliated with Match. From database analytics, I can tell you a few things. Men initiate contact around 80% of the time in straight matchmaking. And if you're a woman looking to date other women, you simply have to initiate contact with another woman and you have a good chance of success. Simply because it's very, very, very common for women to match, but then neither initiates contact. If I recall correctly, we were able to determine that it takes on average about 3 dates before banging happens. I don't recall how we worked that out. I'm not a data analyst, but presumably it was some sort of keyword-based algorithm looking at chat messages. We got so many requests for information from the police that we had an informal system with them, just to save them from wasting time getting warrants for information about people who we didn't have data on. They would ask about a particular name, email, whatever other identifier, and we would just say yes, we have data, or no, we don't. And if we did, they'd then go get the warrant to get a copy of it. The other thing I can tell you from our analytics that really shouldn't be all surprising is go get some decent profile photos. Get your talented friend or just hire a photographer to take some really nicely lit, well-composed photos of yourself and watch your match rate soar. I'm always surprised with these things when your first impression is a picture, right? And then people just have the worst pictures. Like, you don't have to go all data scientist curate-y on it, but like, just take a good one. No, your bathroom selfie is not going to help you. Unless you're like really hot, but still. Story 9. There was a post about 1 to 2 months ago on the subreddit dating_advice, which explained the best way to use Tinder to your benefits. It was something like, don't like everybody. Also, don't like girls who put their Instagram in profiles because most of the time they won't respond to you and they just want follows. Instead, focus on girls who have nice bios. And over time, the algorithm is going to learn you and it's going to match you with potential candidates. At first, you might have 1 to 2 matches, but over time, you're going to get more and more. Most of the people give up after 4 days. But then there isn't enough time for the algorithm to learn you. Story 10. I never worked at OkCupid, but years ago I reported a few profiles and then they made me a mod. There were more fake or scam profiles than dong pics. We think some profiles were reported just because someone didn't like how they acted. But once you start image searching, you would typically find that those profiles are fake, or belong to real people that are definitely not on a dating site. There were a bunch of accurate and proven catfish reports, and a lot of cute pets. Pictures have to be of you, not your dog. And we would comment for the other mods, cute dog, but breaks rules. Also Google the image of the dog and sometimes you find out it's another person's dog. So you're running a dog as a profile picture on a dating site and it's not even your dog. It's a bold strategy. Story 11. My experience is ancient, from back when it was dating sites instead of apps. I wonder what has changed. I was surprised by the insane amount of effort it took to remove nude/dong pics. plus the constant onslaught of escorts that we kicked from the site every single day. I'm sure they now use AI to filter all of those, but it's still probably a lot of manual work involved. Also, how impossible it was to get women to initiate anything. We did whatever we could to make it more appealing to women. Still, the difference in male to female messages versus the other way around was just mind-blowing. Like, we're talking 1 to 1,000 or so. I was actually active as a user on that platform too. If I ever received a message from a woman, I basically went and deleted that user. It was always an escort, always. Oh, and I should add that the partner matching algorithm was completely honest and real. I know it because I coded it. There was absolutely zero trickery on that site. One reason why I loved that job. Sadly, the company went bust in the dot-com bubble, and took some of my money along with it. Never found a job that was so much fun, with so great a team. Ugh, I miss the times. So if this guy wasn't getting good matches, and he wrote the code for the algorithm, I guess it really is just his fault. He never said he was successful on the site though, so I'm gonna assume that he wasn't. I wonder if he ever considered just writing an extra line of code to direct more people his way. Story 12. Never worked for one, but had the misfortune of finding out a behind-the-scenes thing that really upset me, and could have ended my relationship. If you have previously used Tinder, please read this. It could save your butt if you're in an abusive relationship. I was on Tinder a few years ago and met my then partner at the time on it. We hit it off and started dating officially. I'd heard that uninstalling the app wouldn't delete your account, so I made sure to be completely overkill when wiping my profile. I deleted all my photos and bio, then made it private. Then deleted my account, then uninstalled the app. 7 months later, my partner's friend came across my Tinder profile. According to him, the photo was my public Facebook profile pic and there was nothing written for the bio. I had never reactivated my profile. I had zero knowledge of this. I tried to figure out what the frick was happening and discovered Tinder had automatically grabbed my Facebook info and used it to recreate my account and make it public. Thank God my Facebook profile photo was a very lovey-dovey couples pic of the two of us, and that was what Tinder used. My partner knew me well and that I detested cheaters, so he trusted me fully. He also knew I wasn't stupid enough to use a couples photo as my only Tinder pic, and that I would never have an empty bio. I also never put my job info on my Facebook, so thankfully Tinder had left that blank. So when my then partner tipped me off about this screwed up thing Tinder had done, I was proper horrified. Because it had turned out all my work clients and friends and whoever else that had been on Tinder must have come across that profile and assumed I was some shameless cheater. I wanted to make sure it wasn't a fake profile someone else was controlling, so I re-downloaded Tinder in front of my partner and logged in, to discover I was logging into the exact, almost empty profile his friend had described. It turns out Tinder does that to anyone who forgot to restrict third-party app access on Facebook. At the time, that was a very buried Facebook setting you needed to be on desktop to deactivate. I went online and tried to post in a few places to warn people. I'm really big on online privacy. But I just got called a cheater who was trying to cover her tracks. No one believed me at all. I just got heaps of crap for it even though my partner was 100% on my side, and I just wanted to try and help. I ended up deleting those posts because nobody believed me, and I deeply regret that. Can you imagine if someone in an abusive relationship had that happen to them? I should have left the posts up so that they could have Googled it and found it. My partner, we broke up years later but we remain friends, was a good man. And he knew me inside and out, and that I would never cheat, nor do it in such a ridiculous and counterproductive way. But if I'd been trapped in a relationship with someone controlling and abusive, no frickin' way they would have ever believed this story. Because, let's be honest, it does sound pretty far-fetched. Tinder automatically creating an account and making it public without ever warning the user. No one would ever believe that. This all took place in 2015, and at the time I found 2 other forum posts discussing other people's trouble with it happening to them. So I'm not sure if it's been changed. But still. Story 13. Managed and worked on a short-term personal security detail for one of the C-listers of one of these in LA. Not mentioning by name because I'm not trying to get doxxed. But there is a huge problem with people getting stealthed with HIV and other venereal diseases, as well as being robbed or mugged while screwing about on these apps, and the victims will threaten to lash out at the company violently, or even show up at the offices demanding to speak to someone in charge while in the initial anger stage, despite the company having no personal hand in the situation, beyond arranging the medium for which to meet. Apparently, the company can't even send out a warning about the suspected user who is accused of stealthing to LE or public health, due to counsel advising that it's slander, and anything less than bona fide evidence of that person being positive for the disease or committing a crime against the other, and/or that person meeting the other, and/or having intercourse. The companies do cooperate with law enforcement on a case by case basis, if I recall correctly, but they do have the right to clam up and wait for a subpoena before they share user info or chat logs. Meanwhile, there are multiple people who have been robbed of thousands of dollars, given a disease, and many more victims waiting to be had, while the company sits on its butt and lets the complaints pile up. Even then, it's a whole messy area where it's cheaper to not even get involved. Even banning the user from the service involves some amount of steps. I don't blame the victims for being livid, but what a whole mess. Got a few still images of the people that we were keeping an eye out for, and they looked like completely normal guys and girls who just got pushed to their breaking point, all because they trusted someone from a dating app. Could happen to anyone, honestly. Story 14. So back before online dating, I worked at one of those telephone dating companies. Voicemails, live chat, stuff like that. They're all out of business now. Lots of interesting tidbits. The people who make the ads for those services are just regular people. Moms, little old ladies, was rarely men as you'd think. Only men paid to chat or send messages. Didn't matter if you were gay or straight. Women were totally free. One of the services was created by a gay fellow who wanted to meet dudes, so he reviewed all the profiles for the best guys. The people who recorded the prompts were just regular office people, not professionals. I recorded a set one time and some dude called up asking if he could meet me because he liked my voice. No homo. We used to regularly review ads posted by customers to prevent escort ads or overly explicit public stuff. One time, a guy recorded his public ad, "Hi, I'm Chuck and I have a pickup truck. If you want to bang in my truck, call Chuck." Just so everyone knows, yeah, he didn't use the word bang. He used something that rhymed a little better with Chuck. Story 15. Many apps seed attractive bots to keep people engaged. The bots will send/respond to a couple of substandard questions. How was your week? What are you looking for? Then ghost. Despite the ghost, the high of matching with a super attractive person that spoke to you is enough to get many people hooked and chasing the dragon. I have a theory, unproven, I work on the comm side, not engineering, that these bots created ghosting culture. The bots just abruptly stopped chatting, which isn't how a normal actual human ends a conversation. But people became so used to it happening to them, they started doing it to others. Learned behavior.